governor's race since you mentioned it. So far, I think we've got Delgado, Antonio Delgado, Lieutenant Governor, throwing his hat in the ring. What are your thoughts on him entering the race?
Um, I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure yet. I obviously know much more about Hochul. I would like to learn much more about him. Um, I also am very curious about the why, right? Um, I just feel, and this may be still, reeling from this presidential election. I'm very concerned about about splitting Democratic vote. I really am. We have a state that we cannot afford to go Republican. And so much of this state is kind of purpley now. A lot of the rural area is just red. Long Island is really red, and it's concerning. It's concerning because we used to be such a strong Democratic state, and now it's like I don't I would not want us to go the other way. We have a lot of benefits to being New Yorkers. Um, a former principal of mine's granddaughter got brain cancer in Florida, a 2-year-old, and he had to go down to Florida and bring his daughter and grandbaby back to Buffalo because you had to sign a promissory note and have a credit check before the baby got cancer treatment. Because the way we guarantee emergency health care in New York State is not universal across country, which is mind blowing and horrific. Like, why are we, okay? First of all, why are we okay with not having universal health care? But also, why are we okay with refusing babies life saving surgery and treatment? And it's just, so I know that we have those protections. We have um, we have protection as far as gender affirming surgery. We have um, birth control and abortion protection. We have union protection. Like, all of these things have been signed into law by the governor in the recent years because of Trump. And I really like, it worries me to think that this state may be going in the other direction because the whole, so much of the country is that other direction. And this feels like a tentatively safe haven compared to some areas.
Right. So, um, now in terms of the governor's race, I know Antonio Delgado has come out to support the New York Health Act. That would be a version of universal health care in New York. Now, it's not easy to pinpoint whether Hochul has been opposed. She certainly doesn't publicly come out in support. And I'm sure we both know that in Albany around the budget season, it's pretty much three people in a room that are making the decision. So, I mean, do you think Antonio Delgado would even really have a large say in pushing the New York Health Act, even though he comes out and supports it? Do you have any thoughts on that at all?
Well, I mean, I definitely think that we need to go in that direction in New York State and in the country overall. I do think that we, as a state, I don't think there's enough support in Albany um, to flip that, and it's crazy because we actually have so many economists that have shown that New York State would save money. Like, New York State definitely, because we already don't refuse care, life-saving care. Like, in the states that refuse life-saving care, if you don't have money, they wouldn't save money because they let people die right now, right? But in New York State, when we don't let people die just because they don't have money to for the health care, it really, like, there's no economic reason for us not to have done this a decade ago. And so yeah, I do think that's a very important campaign point, and we might see movement on it if he comes out strong enough and has enough support. Whether he has enough support to win the primary or not, if he has enough support based on that point alone to come close, I think we know what's going to happen in the other camp. That is one way to move policy, is to have somebody come out strong on a policy point. We saw that with Cuomo. When Cuomo was running, and I don't remember which term because he was there forever, but when he was running one of the last times, and um, he had, oh God, why can I not remember her name? She came out as strong against fracking. And at
Okay,
the
when he
time,
during the primary, Cynthia Nixon.
mm-mm.
Okay. Yeah, I can't remember. I know the Green Party, we've definitely had candidates like Howie Hawkins that were against fracking. I can't really think about
Yeah,
for like a
no,
Democratic primary.
yeah. So when his opponent came out strong against fracking, and the polls went poof, right away from him in all the areas that were potential fracking areas or started fracking. He lost so much that all of a sudden he became anti-fracking miraculously. And so it is important to have people uplift issues, whether or not they're the better candidate overall, whether or not they can win it overall. It's important for people to oppose the status quo and bring up issues that may be ignored. So if Delgado can be elected on universal health care, then I think that's a great thing. If Delgado can't be elected, but can push Albany towards universal health care, that would be a great thing too.
Yeah, I agree 100% on that. I know a lot of the Democratic Assembly members that I've spoken with will talk about the cost of the New York Health Act and that it's just not affordable, and that they are worried because of this current administration pulling the waivers from the Affordable Care Act to the states that expanded the access. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that we need to look broader. Like, there's so much going on here. There's so many people in New York State right now that don't have health insurance, working people who don't have access to health insurance, that even the marketplace health insurance is too expensive, right? Or they're barely making it on their job. But I mean, that marketplace health insurance isn't cheap either. It's not. So unless you actually are low enough income to be qualifying for the Medicaid type of insurance, that marketplace insurance is not cheap. And so a lot of people are going without, like right now, before Trump's stuff raises it. And that ends up being a thing where if you have to choose between, hey, I finally got a job that pays enough that I get food on my table, pay my rent, pay my bills, actually have clothing for my kids, and then all of a sudden you're kicked off of Medicaid because you make too much money, or your marketplace, what you have to pay into your marketplace insurance goes up significantly, then these people aren't going to stay at those jobs long. And you see this, and people all go around going, oh, no one wants to work. There's a lot of jobs out there that don't offer insurance, and or you're part-time working over 30 hours a week, but you're part-time. And so all of that happens. So there's all these gaps, and people have choices. Like, especially once you have kids, maybe as a adult by yourself, if you don't have a pre-existing condition, you might be able to go, okay, I'll just let my body deteriorate slowly with time, because that's what we do in this country. And but then once you have kids, you can't do that. But I can tell you that the University of Buffalo and the Buffalo Public Schools teamed up to do these vaccination clinics. Do you know that they had to keep adding more and more and more dates? They had 900 students show up at a night for 4 hours, like to get their vaccines. Like, it was crazy. And if you think, like, why are all these kids unvaccinated? If they had a pediatrician, if they had health care, would they have stood in line for 4 hours for a free vaccine?
Yeah, I wonder why there are people that don't have a pediatrician. I think sometimes new Americans may come into that situation.
But it wasn't just the new Americans. Like, God, there had to have been like at least 8 days of these vaccines. So, like, probably around 6,000 people, 6,000 school children came in. That's like a crazy amount. Do you know the Buffalo Public Schools has mobile physicals for sports now? Because if we didn't provide as Buffalo Public Schools physicals for our athletes, they wouldn't be able to play. Like, we're at a time when so many of our kids aren't getting the medical care they need. If their parents had Medicaid, if their parents had insurance, I don't think it would be this bad. Like, there would be kids going to doctors' offices.